Ever heard of a story that is both a myth and a legend? The name of the story is Camelot, or the Arthurian legend. I will be informing you today on what makes it the Arthurian legend and a Camelot myth today. Camelot is based in medieval times. The name comes from the king of the time, King Arthur, and his knights. This is what makes it a legend because there was a king at the time and his name was Arthur. However, according to the myth at encyclopedia.com, the king married a girl named Guinevere in Camelot. Their friend Merlin, who was a magician or warlock, built them a castle and it later becomes their headquarters, making it a myth because warlocks do not exist. Anyway, the area that Merlin built just so happens to be where the famous Round Table is also located. King Arthur is supposed to be the best leader that ever was to rule Camelot. In my speech, I am going to teach you about Camelot during Arthur's time, the Round Table, and Camelot's last stand. On the website camelotscastle.com, Camelot was the most famous castle during the medieval times. King Arthur reigned over Britain in the time of the Saxon conquest. The Saxons and every other nation around them at the time were scared because Camelot's defenses were formidable. The castle that they lived in was so close to water that they could see a boat approaching from more than a mile away, making Camelot with its knights an untouchable place. Arthur held court in the castle's main courtyard while his people gathered around together. This is where he could inform his knights about what was happening and what could happen next. During this same time, there were less violent recreations that took place. It is said that Sir Lancelot bought Arthur and Guinevere a chess set, knowing how good she was at the chess. Also, they held tournaments with the knights and common people. The Round Table was important as well during this time. It helped prove that King Arthur was the greatest ruler of all time. The knights gathered around the Round Table when they had their meetings. According to LiveScience.com, it was a wedding gift from Guinevere's father. At this time, there were at least 100 knights that were part of the table. On their chairs around the table, the name of the knights were engraved. As knights, they went on many quests given by the king. The quests were of the most importance to the knights. They were their life mission, and nothing was supposed to come before the mission until it was completed. One of the missions that they embarked upon was known as the Holy Grail. During the search for the Grail, Lancelot had a son that was able to pull the sword from the stone. This was a big moment because Merlin cast a spell on the sword and stone so that only the strongest knight could pull it. Galliard was responsible for this moment. This allowed him to have a higher ranked chair at the Round Table, sitting close to the king. Sadly, a battle was fought after this happened that left Camelot defenseless. Lastly, King Arthur dies along with most of his knights. However, this is not the end of Camelot. A king of a surrounding kingdom heard the news of the famous ruler's death. With this news, he invaded the kingdom of Logres. He sought revenge for Camelot because they had defeated him once before. So after the victory at Logres, he invaded Camelot, who was defenseless. But the people weren't going to be ruled by anyone. They stormed the streets and they sadly mostly were killed. The king stormed the castle and saw the seat that read Gilead. This was his enemy. He knew Gilead was the strongest and was the reason he lost the battle. So he decided to destroy his seat and the Round Table. This was the last stand for Camelot. In conclusion, Camelot is a strong fortress that was hardly defeated because of their amazing ruler, King Arthur, and his knights. The knights followed their king's commands by completing missions and fighting battles. The people of Camelot, without the defenses, had stormed the streets and fought for what Camelot was for them. So in saying this, yes, this story is a myth and a legend, but it teaches so much more. In this time of the defeat, when you have no direction, a place isn't a place without the people that make it up.